Okay, I'm with Troy Singleton, who's running for State Assembly from the 7th District. There's a lot been going on in Trenton lately, including some legislation that looks like it's about to pass that's going to severely curtail collective bargaining rights. Is New Jersey turning into another Wisconsin?
No, I don't think New Jersey's turning into Wisconsin at all. I think what we're seeing is our legislators are having to balance two very real and difficult issues. One, faced with the difficulty of a pension and healthcare system for our retirees and future retirees that is growing increasingly insolvent by the day, and balancing that with the fundamental core principles of the Democratic Party in essence. And I think that yin and yang has caused a very emotional response from those of us in organized labor like myself, as well as for our elected officials. Ultimately, I take a page out of Chairman John Wisniewski's book that said the party has to be able to come together when all this is said and done, because it's important for us to realize that the main goal is ensuring that we have a Democratic legislature that set the foundation for President Barack Obama's successful re-election efforts next year, and more importantly, in 2013 when we take back drunk thwack and put it in Democratic hands.
Okay. You're challenging Republicans in your election. What are some of the issues that affect your voters locally?
Well, I think the issues that affect the voters of the 7th District are ones that we've seen all over, and that's property taxes and how to make New Jersey more affordable. Myself, Assemblyman Herb Conaway, and our Senate candidate, Dr. Gail Cook, are committed to creating an affordability agenda that allows New Jerseyans to stay and prosper in their areas. I think if we look at some of the draconian cuts that the governor's proposed, and perhaps his Republican colleagues in the legislature have agreed to champion, we're starting to look at a contradiction of two New Jerseys. One where New Jersey for rich folks who are the ones of privilege, and middle-class folks who are left with all the scraps on the table. I think it's important for us as legislators and legislative candidates to be able to articulate a clear message that talks about how to make New Jersey more affordable, and that's what we're doing every day when we talk to voters.
Some Democrats in the legislature are proposing to reintroduce the millionaire's tax. Probably would be vetoed again by Governor Christie, but how do you feel about sharing the sacrifice across the board?
I think I take a page out of the governor's own book, his playbook. He says shared sacrifice is needed. And I think we should look at every option that's on the table to ensure that the burdens aren't placed unfairly on middle class and lower income families. The millionaire's tax is one such option that needs to be looked at and kept on the table until we can exhaust all possible means to close this budgetary gap and move us forward on a solid financial footing. I will say this. We have to get away from this situation of where we're pitting neighbor against neighbor, and the governor and his Republican colleagues have been very astute at doing that. We need to be in a position to stand up as Democrats for what we believe in and put ourselves in a position to recognize that every option has to be on the table to make sure our stable fiscal house is in order.
One of the issues that's likely to come up in the legislature next year is the issue of marriage equality. Where do you stand on that?
I'm a supporter of marriage equality. I personally believe that it is not the responsibility of the government to make determination on who or should not be able to marry. I feel that that is a relationship that is left between someone's higher power, their God, whatever choose they would choose to call them in themselves. Love is one of those things that the government should not have its role in, and I, for one, am not a supporter of interjecting the government into someone's determinations of who they love. Essentially, what I like to say is we need to make sure as Democrats in this time of turmoil that we remain focused on our common objective, which is to see that the Democratic Party remains strong and vibrant here in New Jersey. I, for one, stand committed to those principles that have always been embedded in me from the first steps that I've had from my father, who's a retired union teamster, to my mother, who's a federal government employee. I really feel strongly that we have to focus on our common goals, which are to make sure that New Jersey is affordable for middle-class families and make sure we have a strong and vibrant economy and educational system for our next generation.